All right, you guys, it happened. It actually happened. We have just struck Iran in conjunction in a joint operation with the Israelis. This happened overnight. I want to start off this special breaking coverage with this video. It is 8 minutes long. It is of President Trump's announcement. It was posted to the White House Twitter X page at just before 2 a.m., 1:57 a.m. to be exact. I want to start off today's special coverage with that video so that we can all see what the president has to say on these strikes. So we'll be right back after that video. Let's watch it together.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
So I actually woke up at about 5 a.m. I went to use the bathroom and I checked my phone to see if anything had happened while I was asleep. And then I found out that we struck Iran with Israel. This was a joint operation. They are both still striking. And in this current moment, it is a joint operation between the United States and Israel. And so I had essentially went to use the bathroom and I found out, and I obviously could not fall back asleep. I got straight to reporting and curating this show for you guys. I wanted to sort of curate it as like a story. We're telling a story here, essentially, as a journalist. That's kind of my job. But I've actually handwritten everything on my couple of pages of outline and everything. I did it all handwritten. I usually do it in a Google Doc, but this just felt super important to put my time and my effort into. And obviously, I spent probably about 4 hours curating this show, researching, getting all of the information down and in for you guys to have all this information. My dad actually texted me after he had woken up and found out about the news. He said, "Today is going to be a busy day for you in the news." And I was like, "It sure is." And it is a Saturday, it is a weekend, and all of this, of course, happening. I'll tell you why I thought it was going to happen on a Saturday later in this episode today. But I want to start with Trump's video there, his announcement that came from Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, where he is currently at. So I can assure you he is monitoring the situation from Mar-a-Lago. But he first talks about different events that the Iranians were a part of course, the hostage crisis and other events and things that the Iranians were a part of. He continues to emphasize that they can never have a nuclear weapon. Um, of course, that's been a sort of talking point for a long time now, is that they can never have a nuclear weapon. But something that he said that actually stood out to me when I was watching this for the first time was that he said, quote, "The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost." And then he go on to say that that tends to happen a lot in war, that often happens in war. And so he is, I don't know, he's sort of talking about the potential of losing American lives. I mean, is that what he's expecting? Because he wants regime change in there, and a lot of analysts and a lot of people are saying regime change just is not possible without troops on the ground. You can't do that with just airstrikes. We'll talk about their plans for the airstrikes continuing on further in the episode, but he is insinuating that there will, of course, be um, troops on the ground in Iran. And we've seen a large military buildup, so it wouldn't be surprising, but it would be going against what he ran on in 2024. And honestly, what he's run on in 2020 and 2016, which is his whole no new wars, US shouldn't be involved in these foreign wars. And so it kind of goes against what he ran on in 2016, 20, and 2024. Another thing he did was he gave the Iranians an ultimatum. He said, quote, "Lay down your weapons and have complete immunity or face certain death." So he is giving them an ultimatum. Complete immunity, we're not sure entirely what that means. Maybe they won't die. Maybe they won't be put in prison for as long. I don't know exactly what the plan is for complete immunity with the ultimatum here. But face certain death, I mean, that's of course inevitable with the amount of troops and military that we have in the region. He also told the Iranians to take their government, to take over their own government, which I thought was super interesting. Maybe he won't send ground troops. I was watching a program earlier this morning who said they might not send ground troops if they're saying for to the Iranians to take over their government. That would insinuate that they aren't planning on sending ground troops. So the best way to get regime change from within, so the people of that nation are the ones that are responsible for doing this regime change. And I think that's maybe what he's saying. Maybe he's weighing two options. Maybe he doesn't know which option to pick yet. So he's throwing both out there to sort of prep the American people, because there wasn't a lot of prep done in terms of PR and the public opinion and how public sees this and if they saw this coming at all. Of course, people in the news business and in politics saw this coming, absolutely, but the average American may not have seen this coming in. The program I was watching earlier also talked about how, since the Americans didn't really see as much justification for a war or an attack, at least, um, that's sort of strong there. So I want to move into another story from this strike. According to Al Jazeera, this is actually where I first got the information. It is according to Iranian state media that I found this through Al Jazeera, though. In a province in southern Iran, I think it's a town called Manab. Um, let's see. I want to show you guys. So it's an all girls school was struck by the uh i- pardon me. I don't do I have the I don't know if I have the image just pulled up here. Give me one moment. I did not prepare. There we go. This is the first image of the strike at an all-girls school in Iran. Um, According to the governor of that region, at 9 a.m. Central Time, it was reported that 63 people are confirmed dead and 92 people are confirmed injured. Here's another angle of that. Um, Strike at an all-girls school in southern Iran. I wanna show you guys what the Iranian foreign minister said about this in a tweet. He said, quote, "The destroyed building is a primary school for girls in the south of Iran. It was bombed in broad daylight when packed with young pupils. Dozens of innocent children have been murdered at the site alone. These crimes against the Iranian people will not go unanswered." And so we have this sort of incident here. These crimes against the Iranian people will not go unanswered. I mean, that's sort of a direct threat in some capacity. And so we'll be monitoring that to see if any action comes out of that. We do know also that the Iranians have struck different parts of the Middle Eastern region, such as Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. One of the videos that I wanted to show you guys before we cut to a break here was taken in Doha, Qatar, and it's a missile. It's a part of a missile, some debris of a missile falling um, in this residential area. I want to show you guys this video real quick. So you can see it kind of in like the top middle of your screen here. I'll play the video again in a second, but you can see the long sort of thing, object falling. That is debris from a missile. I believe it was fired by Iran, um, and it fell. I think, or the missile itself, something fell. Basically, it was debris, I believe, but it fell. And that's what that explosion is from. I'm going to play this video again one more time for you guys to watch. So as you can see in the middle of your screen, it's falling down, and then that explosion hits. So that's just sort of the side effects almost, or the domino effects of what's going to happen in the coming days here. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the actual plan for the continued strikes, how long they're going to last, also what their plan is with the strikes, and then we're going to look at some damage from the strikes as well as some new news that is just coming in. And so stay tuned for that. We will be right back after the break. All right, you guys, I apologize that the break was so long. I was just getting in some more information and news into my outline and into today's program. But I want to continue where we left off, which is the future of these strikes. How long are they going to last? Are they going to be like, is this like a long-term commitment for the United States? What's it like? Well, they basically said, I believe it was either a US official or a White House official said that it's not gonna be hours, it's going to be days. So that's the first part. So this is gonna be a continued campaign, a continued military campaign. But they also said that it was going to be um, they were going to take breaks in between to assess the damage. And so we have this continued military campaign and then breaks. I don't know how often these breaks will be, how long they'll be for, but there will be breaks, and that way they can assess the damage that they've done. So this is going to be a more long-term attack than a campaign, rather, than what we saw in June of 2025 with the single day attack. That was just like a couple of bombs that were dropped on these three sites: Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, the believed to be nuclear sites in Iran. And they struck them, and they said that they were obliterated. And then 6 months later, apparently they weren't obliterated. You know what I mean? It's just kind of funny how that works. But regardless, these strikes will continue for days. The current ones will. And like I said, breaks to assess the damage. So they're going to want to see what damage they've done, what they can still do. And speaking of damage and things that have just occurred in the strikes, and as a result of these strikes, I want to show you guys two videos from Bahrain, which is right nearby off the coast there. And there's two videos. I believe it's the same incident, but it shows a strike there at a service center of the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet. So that the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet is stationed there. That's where they're based out of, and their base is. And this video depicts a strike, I believe, from Iran, hitting this service center at this base for the Navy's Fifth Fleet. So I want to go ahead and show you guys that video. Two videos, actually.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, okay. What the fuck?
Okay, so we saw that strike happen. As of now, there are no reported injuries or deaths. Maybe there are some injuries, but there are no deaths reported, at least the last time I checked. But no specific numbers that are out yet. And so that was in Bahrain. This next image that I'm going to show you, this is going to be the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This is his residence. This is where he lives. And it was unknown if he was present at the strike, but I want to show you guys this image of the aftermath of the strike on his residence. That's the image there. I believe this is satellite or drone imagery. And so we can see it's kind of gone. I mean, there's not really much to it. So it doesn't look like if anybody was in there, they definitely would not have survived unless maybe there was an underground bunker, but I don't know exactly the chances of your survival on that. And speaking of that, the Daily Mail is reporting that Israeli media is saying there is, quote, growing indications that the supreme leader was killed. And so we don't have official confirmation yet, clearly by the nature of this strike and just what it looks like. I mean, clearly the indication from this, the intention behind it was to kill the supreme leader. I mean, can you tell? I mean, if they expect him to be there, he's not coming out of there alive. We can see it right there in the picture, the satellite imagery. And so, is he dead or alive? We don't have official confirmation. I keep seeing post on X, talking about how he's going to do an address the nation sort of speech. I don't know if that's happening now or if that has happened. To my knowledge, it hasn't happened, and it's not being reported in the mainstream. So, I mean, we don't actually know how he's doing. We have no idea if he was killed in that strike. And so, of course, everybody is super stressed, especially living in like a mainly populated area, such as Tehran, the capital of Iran. I want to show you guys this image here of the traffic leaving. It's from Al Jazeera, from CNN. Sorry. This is just some crazy traffic. I guess it's going in and out of the city. I don't know why you'd want to go back into the city, but people are certainly trying to leave the city. They don't want to be there. It's not safe to be, although President did issue in his warning to stay inside. There will be bombs dropping. That's basically word for word what he said. So they're not really listening to the president. I did see, though, that one of the U.S. Broadcast agencies actually is streaming his speech, his 8-minute speech that we saw at the beginning of this episode. They're actually streaming it like in Iran, so the people of Iran can sort of see that video. I wanted to talk also, I told you guys about this at the beginning of the stream, why I thought that this attack would be on a Saturday. Why a Saturday? Well, first off, in mainstream media, there's not as much coverage on the weekends. There just isn't, and that's just like that's not just the media. Obviously, like there's like, it's not a business day on the weekend. Of course, like most people like that work in that sector don't work on the weekends, at least to my knowledge. I would assume that's like what weekends are for. And so, anyways, weekends are not busy, and so that would be a prime time to do it. The time itself that he did it in the early morning hours of Eastern time, but in Iran, that was like a little bit after sunrise. Normally, it would be done before sunrise in Iran, or the location that they strike. That's just kind of common knowledge. So they did it a little bit later than I thought they would in the night. For us, the morning for Iran. But that's goes to say also, when we abducted what's his face? Venezuelan guy, Maduro, when we abducted him, that was, I believe it was on a Saturday. If not, it was on a Friday. No, it was on a Friday. So it wasn't on a Saturday, but it was on a Friday, and that but also technically so was ours, also on a Friday. This newest one was also on a Friday. Friday night, Saturday morning, same thing with Maduro. So they were the same, but that's just in news. It's just not like there's not as much to cover on the weekends, and so this is obviously making the rounds. But I just want to give you guys that sort of theory out there, or not even theory, just like some perspective, I would say, some interesting perspective. I want to move on now to this photo I got from Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera has been a really good source on this, just because that's where they're based. Of course, I use our U.S. mainstream media, and also, I mean, I use all media. I use Twitter or X. I use like people on there. I use like lesser known media sites. I use mainstream media, but I also want to be good about getting the best information. And so the best information from mainstream media would be Al Jazeera, because that's where they're based. That's the general, area. So I usually go to them when it comes to stuff in this region of the world. So this image that I got from Al Jazeera shows flares over Dubai. So I'm trying to pull this image up for you guys. One sec. Yeah, look at that. So that's just like one of the images. There was a couple of them there, but that one just kind of looked the most shocking, really, just to see this. I don't know exactly what these flares are. I don't know if who they're from. I don't know if it's a missile. I don't know anything about that. But it is over Dubai, and so it just goes to show the widespreadness of this collateral and how much it's impacting the entire Middle East region. And of course, we got that with the video in Qatar, but and then we got the Dubai, and then there's stuff in Abu Dhabi, and just like all over. the Middle Eastern region, there is a lot of collateral from this event. Um, Speaking of this event and what collateral it's causing in Iran, there's anti-US protests. I guess they are really happy with us. I don't know. I thought that they were going to be sort of happy with us, considering that they were begging for our help, like not even 2 weeks ago. I don't know. That is for you guys to decide how you feel about that. I don't I don't know how to feel about that, just because they all were, maybe it's the non-opposition people. Maybe it's the opposite group of what was protesting 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's the Iran lovers who love the regime. So I don't really know who these people are, but I'm just saying, you guys, you kind of asked for our help, and then we gave it to you, and then you're protesting against us. You know. But anyways, I mean, who knows? There's always context behind all sorts of content that we see. So always be mindful when you're looking at images and video and stuff. Finally, I want to end today's broadcast with this video shared by the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, who also took part in this strike. They have a video that they've put on their social media about 4 hours ago. Let me pull it up for you guys. It shows an airstrike, and so we're going to watch that right now. All right, you guys. So that's that video from the IDF. You can see them obviously clearly striking the area that they're going after. And so that sort of concludes the broadcast. I did spend a lot of time putting all of this together in the early morning hours this morning, at least sort of early for me. But I appreciate you guys watching this episode. See, it was about like 40 minutes long. It's probably one of the longest episodes we've done so far. But it is a Saturday, and so hope you guys were able to watch this episode live. If not, it'll be posted wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all of that, YouTube even. So if you want to watch it after the fact, if you weren't able to make it, of course, you can always watch it on the podcast platform. So I appreciate you guys very much. With that, that'll conclude today's broadcast of our special live coverage of these strikes in Iran. And so if there's any breaking news, I'll bring it straight to you as soon as I get it. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great weekend.